Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Minkuk. I am from KECO.
Is it okay to throw away the amount of food waste as we are currently? 14,000 tons of food waste is generated a day, 5 million tons a year. 70% of food waste is from households and small restaurants. More than half of the food waste is thrown away during the distribution and cooking process. A seventh of food is thrown away. This amount of food waste causes an economic loss of over 20 trillion won a year. Food waste treatment requires an expense output of more than 800 billion won. Reducing food waste restores the environment and prevents the waste of resources. If everyone would reduce food waste by 20%, food waste treatment costs would be reduced by 160 billion won a year. The energy savings would generate economic profits reaching 5 trillion won. So how can we reduce food waste? We can reuse food waste as compost or forage through appropriate treatment. However, food wastewater is generated during the reuse process and requires treatment costs. The best way to reduce food waste is to reduce the generation of food waste itself.
Do you know about the food waste volume-based charge system for reducing food waste? Costs within a food waste volume-based charge system depend on the quantity of food waste. Therefore, a smaller quantity of food waste means a lower fee, and a larger quantity of food waste means a higher fee. The volume-based charge system, by which we pay as much as we throw away, is the most effective way to reduce food waste.
There are various kinds of food waste volume-based charge systems, depending on the collection method. One of these is the RFID method, similar to when a bus fare is displayed when we touch our transportation card to the reader. A waste fee is imposed depending on weight, using a food waste container or a card with an RFID tag.
Reuse is as important as reducing food waste. A strict separate garbage collection is required for reuse of food waste. Strictly sort regular trash from food waste. And put food trash in a food waste container to prevent them from mixing with other household wastes.
Reducing food waste is one of the greatest ways to protect our one and only Earth.
예, 안녕하십니까? 저는
Good afternoon. I am Minkuk Kim. I work for KECO. It is my honor to present the issues and the progress regarding food waste in Korea. This international workshop is meaningful, and I really appreciate the invitation. The status of food waste generation and our policy will be the key topics of my presentation. This is the order of my presentation. First, I'll talk about food waste generation and its status. Secondly, and I'll talk about the condition and the resulting policy direction regarding food waste treatment and how to reduce food waste and how to manage energy that comes out of food waste. First, food waste generation and its status will be the first topic in my presentation. What is food waste? According to the Korean Local Government Act, it is defined as such: from food ingredients and from food production and distribution, cooking and containment and disposal, whatever that comes out of it or that is thrown away after eating. Next, Korean food waste generation can be explained this way. Per day, 390,000 tons are generated. Out of half of that comes from construction. When it comes to livelihood waste, accounts for 13%, and it amounts to 50,000 tons per day. And the portion of food waste out of entire livelihood waste, it accounts for 27%, and it amounts to 14,000 tons per day. per year, and this is per day waste or food waste generation. The average caps 14,000 tons, and it means 8-ton waste handling trucks will have to be used, mobilized for in huge quantity. And if we translate that to total food waste generation, it's going to be per 0.125 kilogram per person per day. Compared to advanced countries such as France and the United States, our amount is greater than other countries. Next topic, and is the type of food waste out of the total waste amount that comes from a family or small restaurant accounts for 70% of the total food waste. And from the families in the cooking process, around 68% comes from that process. However, from the restaurants, food that is left over accounts for 68%, which accounts for the highest proportion. But when it comes to cafeteria or wedding buffet, there is high amount of food left over as well. Second item is how food waste is being treated and how the policy is being mapped out. These are the set of issues related to food waste. In 1995, volume rate garbage system was first introduced. The system, by that we mean the waste has to be put in the dedicated garbage cans and submitted. And through the system, household waste has been reduced in terms of amount, and this has been built into the everyday culture of the Korean people. And in 2005, food waste landfilling was prohibited. When it comes to food waste, it contained a lot of moisture, and when it was landfilled, it created a lot of leachate, and it led to a huge environmental problem. That's why direct landfilling was prohibited. And because of this new measure, this new facility to handle food waste was secured, and the cost for food waste handling increased as well. And in 2013, dumping food waste into the ocean was prohibited based on the London Convention. Due to this convention and its measure, and the new measures to throw it into the land was put into practice. When it comes to food waste treatment, and the basic direction is to utilize it for our resources. There are three major directions: whether we use it for feed or compost, or use it as biogas. When it comes to feeding or composting, it accounts for 84%, and biogas accounts for 9% out of the total. This is the food waste treatment facilities. Food waste will be collected and will be handled at the treatment facilities. Currently, the facilities, and a number of them, we have 292 of them, and we have 110 that is run by the public institution, and the rest is run by private entities. When it comes to public institutes, they are owned by the local governments. Either they are run directly or outsourced to third-party entities. When it comes to public entities, depending on the situation in locality, it could be turned into composter, feed, or biogas. When it comes to private entities, they are owned by the private entities. As the name suggests, it is to complement the lack of public entities in different local facilities. However, they are subsidized by the local governments. The private entities are less costly, and they really run a way where they create fertilizer, where they can sell the products at the end of their processes. Now it is the feeding process that comes out of the food waste. The food waste will be inputted and will be stored. Afterwards, this food waste and all the foreign materials will be filtered out, and you will be just put into the tiny composer, and it will be refrigerated, and it will be contained, and that will be the final products of the fertilizers or feed. And this is the composting process. when the food waste is inputted, it will be contained, and foreign material will be filtered out. And this will be just filtered out, and it will be dehydrated, and soil or other material to regulate the degree of moisture will be inputted or inserted, and it will go through first and the secondary processes, and the compost will be made as final product. And the next process.
Next is the process for producing biogas. After the intake food waste, the foreign object will be sorted out, and then it will be crushed. And those crushed food waste is going to be put into the reservoir. And then the anaerobic digestion facility will do the anaerobic digestion process for about 20 days. And after desulfurization and upgrading, it's going to be moved to the generator. And that digestion fluid will be dried, and some of them will be used as a compost, and liquid will go into the sewage treatment facility. Next, I'm going to talk about the food waste treatment condition. Food waste consists of 80% of moisture. So the processing, storing, and treatment and recycling of the food waste, it produces a lot of water. Before 2013, most of those food waste water was dumped into the ocean. But after the year 2013, under the London Convention, we are banning the dumping of the food waste water into the ocean. And it is done by the public facilities. Next, I'm going to talk about the policy direction of the Korean government. In the past, our focus was reducing the waste and create a clean environment. But nowadays, our focus is to create a resource circulation society to tackle the global climate change issues. So we are focusing on reducing the food waste and also recycling and recycling and create the energy based on the food waste. Third, regarding the reducing food waste, we adopted a volume rate disposable system, which is just like the utility system. Based on the amount of the food waste that you discard, you have to pay. It's called as you pay as you waste. In the past, regardless of the volume of the waste, people had to pay the same amount of money. But as we now introduce the volume rate disposable system, you pay based on how much you waste. There are three methods that we implement this volume-based system. First is RFID, and second is pay chip, and third is food waste bag. For RFID, you just scan the RFID card, then that machine measures the weight of the food waste that you discarded. The pay chip method is that people buy the pay chip, then you discard food waste in designated container, and then you add that pay chip on the container that you discarded your food. The third one, food waste bag, is that people purchase the food waste bag, and then you put your food waste in that bag and put that bag in the container. This shows how you discard your food waste based on the RFID. Each household is given the RFID card. Then you tag the RFID card, then the machine recognizes the users and the lid is open. Now you discard the food waste, and this device automatically measures the weight of the food waste. Then the data is transferred to the server, Then based on the information on the server, the charge will be sent out to the bill will be sent out to each household. So each household pays the bill just like you pay the utility. So the RFID method is considered as the most efficient method to reduce the food waste. So Korean government is planning to expand this RFID system. The impact of this volume-based disposable system is pretty positive. Starting from the 2000, you see that the food waste is decreasing gradually. Regarding this system, we also surveyed on people's awareness about the system. General Korean public considers that food waste is a very serious issue. 88% of the Korean people said that they consider it as a serious issue, and as a result, 74% of the Korean people say that they make an effort to reduce food waste, and 87% say they prefer the method of RFID, and they also said it is very efficient and convenient to use this RFID system, so this is pretty positive outcome. Next, I'm going to move on to the energy management based on food waste. There's some issues of the organic waste treatment. So food waste, which is leachate, is pretty solid. Despite that, it can produce a biogas, but most of them goes to the sewage treatment facility. So it is not being fully utilized. Also, regarding the anaerobic facilities have the heavy load. As more Korean people eat meat, the livestock also relates to this food waste because there has been increase on the consumption of livestock. Because of its manure, it creates a water pollution. Regarding sewage sludge, thanks to the increased facility, the sewage sludge is being processed increasingly. And based on the London Convention, as we stopped dumping the waste into the ocean, every process is being conducted on the ground. So we are using a lot of fossil fuels, and that causes increase of the processing costs and also causes the greenhouse gas emission. Now I'm going to talk about the need to use the integrated energy recovery on organic waste. The livestock and organic waste. In order to tackle these issues, Korea government came up with a policy that will utilize integrated energy recovery. The organic waste will be used as an energy resource, which can be, for example, biogas can be one of the examples. Also, we can reduce dependence on the fossil fuel and also reduce the greenhouse gas emission. So we can proactively participate in the global efforts to reduce the greenhouse gas emission. And as we are going to use the integrated energy recovery, we can save some costs to build individual plants. This shows the process of the integrated energy recovery on organic waste. These are highly organic waste, so the process is pretty similar as the process that I entailed before. Depending on the waste, it will go through the facilities, and then also there will be a mixing tank, and then it's going to the anaerobic digestion facility. In terms of the livestock, sand, seed, and the hair of the animal will be removed. And in terms of the sewage sludge, there has to be a certain facility, for example, concentrator and solubilizing equipment. Next, I'd like to introduce the integrated energy recovery facility that is run in Korean Seosan district. In district Seosan, the food waste is used as an animal feed, and the food waste will be transferred to the water treatment facility. And there, the food waste water is not being recycled enough. Regarding livestock, it's going to be used as a compost, and some of them are pollutant to the water pollution, so there is a way to address this issue. And also some sewage sludge is going to go to the generator, but still we are pretty dependent on the fossil fuel. Regarding the animal manure, it is being treated, and then now it places a heavy load on the wastewater treatment facility. Once this project is completed, every organic waste will go to the integrated treatment facility. And then it's going to be transferred into the biogas, and it's going to be used as a fuel to run the plant. And the generator will use this biogas. Also, the solution liquid will be treated and also will be sent to the public treatment facility. Next, I'd like to introduce the eco-environment town. This is the town that will be established that recycles the resources that has been coming from the food waste and create an eco-friendly town. So recyclable energy will be used, and also increase awareness of the people so that they voluntarily uses this type of energies. And all those food waste will be the resource of the biogas, and that this biogas will be used to run that town. And there will be a lot of facilities like culture facility or tour facility will be run based on this biogas. For example, paprika farm or tourism facilities. And through this, the renewable energy will be used, and also it's going to be pretty helpful in removing the bad image of having that kind of facility in their town, and it will also remove the NIMBY phenomenon. Next, I'm going to introduce the Hongcheon province, the eco-energy town. They have a capacity of process 100 tons a day, and they take intake hopper the main facility has intake hoppers and anaerobic digestion. And this process energy and use as a heating or cooler, and the leftovers are sold to private companies. Also, those compost and liquid fertilizer is going to be provided to the farms. This eco-friendly town, you can see the view as I have explained. There's a biogas, electricity, and liquid fertilizer and biogas are being provided into this town. And in creating this town, we didn't face any opposition of the local resident. This concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.